Hey everybody, Triple M here. Today we are going to do Krenko Mob Boss, a very friendly goblin deck. So if you don't know what Krenko does, he's a tap, put X 1/1 red goblin creatures onto the battlefield where X is the number of goblins you control. And we have an artifact in this deck we're going to abuse for to keep re-tapping him multiple times a turn. The only planeswalker, and I believe one of 3 non-goblin creatures in this deck. But, you know, when you have an Archduke of Avernus in your repertoire, you gotta use her. She will be the god that these goblins worship. And these goblins, of course, are led by a Goblin King who gives all goblins Mountain Walk and they get a +1/+1 counter. Then we have the Goblin King's wife, the Goblin Matron. So whenever a goblin comes into play, I can search my library for a goblin card, reveal it, put it into my hand, and if I do, shuffle my library. Now, along with this amazing discovery of this human archangel to worship, throughout the kingdom, we've got some legendary heroes like Tuk the Explorer. When he dies, he creates a 5/5 legendary artifact creature, an artifact golem. To give these goblins the advantage, we're going to give them an Ogre Battle Driver. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under my control, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until the end of turn. Nothing like wrong with getting them whipped up into shape. And then next would be the Hobgoblin Captain. He's got pack tactics. So whenever he attacks, if I attacked with creatures total power 6 or greater, the Hobgoblin Captain gains first strike until the end of turn. And then the Goblin King's pet, the Org. He's a 6/6 trample, but he cannot attack if an opponent controls an untapped creature power greater than 2, and he can't block any creature with power greater than 2. Very big funny joke card, but I threw him in here for the lulz. Now for the scouts of the Great Goblin Army, we have a Mardu Scout. He's a 3/1 with dash. We have a Goblin Shortcutter, so whenever he enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. And the last, we're moving into rogues now, aren't we? Yeah, those are the 2 scouts. So for the rogues, we have the first rogue is an Arms Dealer. Sacrifice a goblin, Arms Dealer deals 4 damage to a target creature. The next rogue is a Jeering Instigator. He's got a morph cost, so that's fun. Whenever he's turned up, if it's my turn, I gain control of another target creature at the end of turn, untap it, and it gains haste. So I get to steal a creature for a turn, so that's fun. Our last rogue is a Rummaging Goblin. It's just simple, tap it, discard a card, draw a card. Now we have a couple of Goblin Shamans in our repertoire. We have a Pyrewild Shaman. He's a Goblin Shaman with Blood Rush, and then whenever one or more creatures I control deal combat damage to a player, if this shaman's in my graveyard, I may pay 3, and if I do, he can come back to my hand. Our other Goblin Shaman is a Gutter Snipe. We have some instants and sorceries in here to make him effective to do that ping damage. Now we have a couple of Goblin Berserkers. We have a Goblin Heel Cutter, so whenever he attacks, target creature can't block, and he's got dash. Frenzied Goblin, our other Berserker. So whenever a Frenzied Goblin attacks, I may pay a red. If I do, target creature can't block this turn. So, nice little rogue passages built in on them. Our only Goblin Knight, nothing fancy, just a Goblin Rough Rider. He's a 3/2 for 3. There's nothing special about him. He doesn't do anything. We have a Legion War Boss. He's got Mentor, and then at the beginning of combat, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token gains haste and can attack if it's able to. We have a Goblin Rabble Rouser. So all my other goblin creatures that I control attack each turn if they're able to. So he's pretty much a Total War effect. You'll see what Total War is in a second. But at the beginning of combat on my turn, I get to put a Goblin token onto the battlefield, and whenever he attacks, It gets +1, +0 until the end of turn for each other attacking goblin. So you can get really big really quick. And then when you have friends like Goblin Trashmaster that just acts as a anthem or a banner for him, gives them all +1/+1. Sacrifice a goblin, destroy a target artifact. We have a Goblin War Chief, so goblin spells are cheaper, and all my goblins will get haste. We have a Mog War General, so he has Echo 1 in a red. When he enters the battlefield or dies, he creates a 1/1 goblin token. Beetlebag Chief, he comes in and create 2/1/1 red goblins. Another Goblin Warrior is the Goblin Glory Chaser. He's just got Renown of 1, and as long as he's renowned, he has Menace. Our Goblin Kaboomus would be our next Goblin Warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a colorless artifact token called Landmine onto the battlefield with tap. Sacrifice this artifact. This artifact deals 2 damage to target attacking creature without flying, then flip a coin. If I lose the flip, he deals 2 damage to himself, which should kill him automatically, but with all the Anthem cards I'm running in this deck for goblins, that should not be a problem with him dying if I lose a coin flip. Foundry Denizen. So whenever a red creature enters the battlefield under my control, he gets a +1/+0 for each creature until the end of turn. With some of these, with Krenko putting out with Krenko's ability to put out token goblins, you can pump that up real nasty for a couple of turns. We have a Skin Brand Goblin. He's got Blood Rush. Discard Skin Brand Goblin. Target creature gets +2/+1 until the end of turn. Goblin Motivator. Target creature gains haste until the end of turn. We have a Goblin Piker. Doesn't do anything. He's just a 2/1. And then another Goblin Warrior would be a Goblin Javelineer. He's got haste, and when he becomes blocked, he deals 1 damage to target creature blocking it. Krenko's Enforcer. He's got an Intimidate, and he's pretty nice, just general monster. Goblin War Driver. He's got Battle Cry. And because of these goblins, they're going to need some weapons. You know, they start out with a couple of things. They get a nice little Goblin Morning Star, nothing fancy. Some of them are musicians. They have some kind of musical talent, so they're going to play a Goblin Lyre. What this one does is he's 3 to cast, and then at 0 to sacrifice it. I flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails while the coin is in the air. If the flip ends up in my favor, Goblin Lyre deals X damage to that opponent, where X is equal to the number of creatures I control. Otherwise, the Goblin deals X damage to me, where X is equal to the number of creatures an opponent, the opponent that called the flip controls. It's a 50-50 card, but it's fun, and it makes sense with the Goblins. They also have Boom Kegs, because why wouldn't they? And the big one is this guy. This is the sword we're going to put on Krenko, the Sword of Parons. As long as he's as long as the equipped creature is tapped creatures I control get +2/+0. As long as equipped creature is untapped creatures control we'll get +0/+2. And then for 3 mana, infinitely, I can tap or untap target creature. And that's the big thing about this card, is that 3 casting cost ability. As long as I have 3 mana, I can keep pumping out goblins and doubling the number every time with Krenko. They also have a Hammer of Perforce. So all my creatures will get haste. That's the big reason why that's in here. Just in case I can't get the Ogre Driver or another creature out that gives all my guys haste, that thing will. They're going to have a nice foiled Fire Shrieker to play with as well. So they get double, whatever one gets that will get double strike. Probably Krenko. Nice borderless Fiend Lash. And that's the last of their arsenal. For instance, I'm using Brightstone Ritual, so I get to add a swamp. Wow, I get to add a red for every mana. I get to add a red for every goblin I have in play, pretty much. So it's a great. Once again, all that would go straight to Krenko. Got a Goblin Grenade spell, so I sacrifice a goblin to have This spell deal 5 damage to one target. So nice direct damage there. Dragon Fodder puts 2 1/1 red goblins into the battlefield. Krenko's Command puts 2 1/1 red goblin creatures into the battlefield. Goblin Rally put 4 1/1 red goblin token creatures into the battlefield. And now for our battle enchantments. We've got a Dictate of the Twin Gods. So it's got flash, and whenever a source would deal damage to a permanent or a player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So if I deal 1 damage to you, I'm dealing 2 damage to you. Next is Total War. So whenever a player declares an attack, they have to destroy all their non-summoning sickness, non-wall creatures that do not attack. So yeah, basically it forces, if you're going to attack, you got to attack with everything you have. Otherwise, you have to destroy them unless they have summoning sickness or they're a wall. We have a Outpost Siege. So when it comes in, I choose one. Cons would give me at the beginning of my upkeep, exile the top card of my library. Until the end of turn, I may play that card. Or I could choose Dragons, which is whenever a creature I control leaves the battlefield. Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to target creature or player. With the number of goblins I'm running in this thing and the number of ways I can spawn tokens, yeah, you see where I'm going with that. Another way to get tokens is with Goblin Warrens. It's an enchantment. 3 to cast it, and another 3 to use it. Sacrifice 2 goblins to put 3 goblin tokens into play. Treat them as 1/1 red creatures. So that can be fun as well. Goblin Slide. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, I may pay 1. If I do, put a 1/1 red goblin token onto the battlefield with haste. So there's that as well. We're going to have a 1 of 2 enchant lands in this deck, which is a rarity, but we have a Goblin Cave, which gives, as long as the land that this is cast on is a mountain, all goblins get +0/+2. Then we have a Goblin Shrine, which is as long as target land is a mountain, all goblins get +1/+0. And if it leaves damage, it deals 1 damage to every goblin in play. Kind of a stinker if you lose the land, but you don't play against land destruction too often, do you? Now for our regular goblins. We have a Goblin Hero, nothing fancy, he's just a 2/2 for 3. We have a Battlecry Goblin, so all my goblins would get +1/+0 and gain haste as long as I pay the 1 and a colorless. And he's got Pack Tactics, so whenever you attack with goblins with creatures with total power of 6 or greater, create a 1/1 red goblin token that's tapped and attacking. So just more goblin token generation. Threw an Goblin Artisans in here, so tap it, use this ability when I cast an artifact spell, and I go flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails while the coin is in the air. If the flip ends up in my favor, I draw a card, otherwise I counter the artifact spell I cast, and then more than 1 Goblin Artisan ability cannot target the same artifact spell. But that doesn't matter because we only have 1 Goblin Artisan in this deck. Goblin Snowman. When blocking, Goblin Snowman neither deals nor receives damage in combat. He's basically the goblin version of Uncle Istvan, so I'll take that. Goblin Surgeon. Sacrifice a goblin to regenerate target creature. We have a Goblin Mutant, which he has Trample, and he cannot attack if defending player controls an untapped creature with power greater than 2. Cannot be assigned to block any creature with power greater than 2. Basically, he's a smaller version of the Org, but he's a Goblin Mutant. How often do you see Goblin Mutants? Got a Goblin Lookout. Tap him to sacrifice a goblin. All goblins get +2/+0 until the end of turn. We have a Goblin Digging Team, which is tap to sacrifice him to destroy a target wall. The Goblin Flotilla has Island Walk, and at the beginning of the attack, any attack, pay red, or any creature blocking or blocked by Flotilla gains first strike until the end of turn. We have a Swarming Goblin, so whenever he enters the battlefield, I get to roll a d20, and he creates either 1, 2, or 3 Goblin tokens, depending on how you roll. We have the Mons Goblin Raiders. Nothing fancy, just a 1-drop, 1/1 Goblin. Hulking Bugbear, he's a 3/3 with haste. We have like Goblin Battle Jester. So whenever I cast a red spell, target creature can't block this turn. Goblin Bloom Brigade, another simple 1/1-drop red, and for another red it gains flying until the end of turn. We have the Mog Flunkies. They can't attack or block alone. And that's all of our creatures. That's pretty much the whole deck. Now we're just down to lands, which also I kind of incorporated to tell a story, because the first land is the Goblin Home in Koskin Keep from Ugatha, from Homelands. In there's also a Urza's Mine, an Urza's Power Plant, and an Urza's Tower. Now, those 3 lands, if I have all 3 of these out, I get to add, each one of these would add 2 colorless mana instead of 1. We got to have all 3 of them out, so good luck. I know I'm not really I'm lacking on card draw support in this one, but that's fine, because this is more just a fun deck than anything. We have a Great Furnace, City of Shadows, the Ghost Quarter within the City of Shadows. We have an Arcane Lighthouse, Darksteel Citadel, a Forgotten Cave, Buried Ruins, Smoldering Crater, Hammerheim, our only snow-covered mountain in the deck, and then 19 regular mountains. And then for tokens, all I've got is for Tutuk the Returned, for the Tutuk the Immortal, and then we have, it's not the Immortal, but you know, Tutuk the Legendary guy, the only Legendary Goblin I have. And then 2 Goblin tokens, and we just put dice on them. Now, I do have Tago the Blacksmith and Mugzis coming in the mail. I'm going to take out probably 2 of the weaker goblins that don't do anything. Throw those 2 legendaries in it. But, yeah, that's my goblin deck. A lot of fun. It's really fast. But Krenko's an interesting character. Let's say that much. But that's my goblin family. And this has been Mage of the Midwest March. I have been very happy to show you my goblin deck, and I'm sorry it's been so long. My life's been kind of busy the last couple of weeks. I got a new job, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm doing really good, and it was just time for me to get a change. I'm still keeping my current job, because it's not going to kill me to work 2 jobs, but I just hope all you guys and gals out there, and everybody I did unmentioned, I hope you all having a great day, and thanks for stopping by. If you leave a comment, if you got any questions or even any suggestions for anything I could throw in here to make it a better goblin deck, leave a comment. Don't be shy. I don't bite. But until then, I will get ready to show you the next deck here soon. I don't know if I want to show you my revised Aeruth Renfield deck, or if I want to go back to trying the Orzhov Vampire deck. I'm still waiting for a couple of cards for the Orzhov Vampire deck, but that might be my next one regardless. But until then, I mean, we'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for stopping by. Stay cool, stay warm. I'll tell you what, these swamps up here in the Midwest, they are snow-covered swamps, and they are cold.